Welcome to the Flooring Podcast with Mike Harris, the show where we cover new construction, restoration, and everything to do with flooring in commercial construction. Now here's your host, Mike Harris.
Welcome to the Flooring Podcast. I'm Mike Harris. We're here today, as usual, at Pod 617 Studios in Westwood, Mass. David Yass, the producer. Thanks for having us again, David. Today, I have Peter McKeon. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you.
Peter McKeon is my first competitor on the podcast. Known Peter for probably 20 years, but we've competed against each other. Peter is very similar to myself and my partner Barry, meaning he's an independent representative, just like Barry and I was. And that means, Peter, we work on 100% commission. Got to get up every morning and go to work, huh?
Yeah, that's true.
We don't eat. Peter represents a company by the name of Laticrete. Laticrete is a large manufacturer of cementitious products, tiling products, floor prep products. Peter, why don't you start chatting a little bit about Laticrete, how they got going in this business, and how you got going with them.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mike, for having me today. This is going to be fun. I've seen your prior podcasts, and they've been fantastic. So
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Getting the hang of it.
Yeah, looks great. So Laticrete I started with Laticrete just out of college, probably 4 or 5 years out of college. And I started as a company. The company itself was smaller at the time, and they had independent reps as their total sales force.
Same as I started with Ardex, same thing. There was like 10, 11 reps, independents across the country.
Okay, yeah. I think that was a normal path for a smaller growing company.
Certainly.
To go that route. I started, my brother, Tom, who's one of my older brothers, started about 10 years before I did. So he's been there 40 years. I'm in there 30 years this year. And he was in the New York City market as an architectural rep for Laticrete.
And still is.
And still is.
Yep.
And still is, yes. He was working as an architectural rep for the company at the time, and has since evolved into taking over the New York City market.
As a sales?
As sales and architectural.
Okay.
Correct.
Oh, he's doing both.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I came on, and I started originally in the technical service department. And I worked there for just a few months, and the Boston market came available. And so I moved in with college roommates and moved up to Brighton and started a business right then.
Wow, that's. And you were living in Connecticut at the time. The company's out of Connecticut, correct?
The company is out of Connecticut, at Bethany, Connecticut, which is just outside of New Haven.
Just outside of New Haven, and that's where you grew up.
That's where I grew up as well. I grew up in the town next door, Woodbridge.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, you grew up in Woodbridge. Okay, right next door.
Yeah.
Okay. And as the McKeon Group, your manufacturer's rep company, talk a little bit about that, what a manufacturer's rep is, what they do.
Sure.
So sometimes people, Barry and I were always manufacturer's reps, but, people assumed we worked directly for Ardex, which we didn't do, but we did. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Why don't you explain that a little bit?
Sure. So we don't technically work directly for Laticrete, although for all intents and purposes we do. We get paid differently. And like you said, initially it's a straight commission program, and that's how it evolved. We've since have a lot of partners that have joined with us, or people that work with us now. So there's 10 of us that work for my brother Tom and I, who are partners, and we basically handle from middle of New Jersey up through New York City, and then from Albany east and all of New England.
Okay, and that's in the tile, stone, and floor prep business.
It's everything that Laticrete sells. Yep, tile, stone, floor prep. Correct.
How many SKUs does Laticrete have?
Hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah, I was going to say, you probably don't even know that.
Thousands, probably, yeah.
Somebody asked me that question with Ardex, and I was like, I don't know. There's too many. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And Laticrete being a good family-owned business has developed new products constantly, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Where Laticrete started initially was, it's going to be, I guess, 70 years this year. is that
it's still family owned, right?
Still family owned.
Wow.
The Rothberg family owns it. They're in the third generation of people that are working within the company, and they're a phenomenal family that has really started this entrepreneurship. Henry Sr., Dr. Rothberg, started the company he was working as a chemical engineer at Uniroyal, a company in Connecticut. U.S. Rubber, I guess, was the original name, and he was a chemical engineer. And Dr. Rothberg found a latex that they were working on while he was working there, and his family was in the tile and terrazzo business. So when he developed this product, it was a product that U.S. Rubber really had no interest in pursuing. So he said...
Didn't work in the tires, huh?
Didn't work in the tires, just wasn't interested in pursuing it. So he asked them if he could buy it from them, which he did for, I believe the number was $1. And that's where Laticrete started. And he knew by taking a liquid latex and adding it to sand and cement at the time, there's no such thing as thin set. Sand and cement at the time would be a much stronger bond. So he took that, went to Europe, and developed it first in Europe because there were more tile being installed there. Yeah. And then since brought it back to New York City and started with the unions in New York City and kind of showing them how to add this product, which was called 4237 was the first product. And that's a formula number. That's why the number is what it is. And that's what started Laticrete. And technically the name is not Laticrete like I'm saying, and everyone else usually says. It's Laticrete. So it's latex and concrete is how the name of it's technically pronounced Laticrete. They don't care how you pronounce the product as long as you buy it.
As long as you buy some from them, yeah.
But yeah, that's how the company started originally.
And the thin set or the tile market in New York City was, maybe still is, deep fill. Is it still?
Yeah. So
a mud bed.
Yeah. So in the past, tile was only installed in a mud bed consistency, and until he developed this technology of adding a latex to a sand and cement or now a thin set mortar, it was that's how they developed, and it's probably 80% thin set. And in New York, there still is a lot of mud set. But the reason why it's so beneficial is that it's much faster, much easier to install that way, and also is much less labor intensive. So you can install it much faster.
Right. And in the Laticrete line of products, the tile business typically was where they started, and they've morphed into floor prep and other products like that. But also too, they're doing residential and commercial, correct?
Yeah, we've always been known in the commercial market. If you talk to an architect that's been specifying Laticrete for years, they know us as a commercial company. However, about 10 or 15 years with the introduction of big box and Home Depot and Lowe's, we realized that there's a market there that we need to be a part of. And today we're about 50-50 in the residential versus the commercial market.
And the McKeon Group is involved in both?
In both, correct.
In both, in your footprint.
That's correct.
That you guys cover. Yeah, because being a competitor of Ardex, Laticrete was always known as the tile person. They owned a big part of that market. They did a great job in it, and tough to compete against. Because of their great relationships and their longevity in that. And then you guys started, playing in our sandbox a little bit, getting into the floor prep business. Why don't you talk a little bit about that and how that has morphed over the last, probably 15, 20 years?
Sure. So about 15 years or so ago, we bought a company called DryTech. DryTech was known for its self-leveling. It's known for its calcium aluminate cements. And that's really where we evolved into the self-leveling or the floor prep side of the business. I think it was also where the market was changing a bit, meaning it was becoming more and more prevalent to use self-leveling underlayments in tile and stone projects because of the larger size tiles.
Sure. Needed a flatter floor,
right.
Smoother floor. Yeah.
Right. So it evolved at perfect timing. And with that came a lot of key people, scientists, as well as technical people that really helped grow that business for the Laticrete side.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden came along the SuperCap truck. SuperCap truck is a very large, portable, self-leveling pumping machine. It started in New York City, I think, with Pyramid.
It did. It started in New York City with Pyramid, and that was part of one of the bigger customers for DryTech at the time was Pyramid, and they were supplying that. So that was a big piece.
And so Latticrete brought Drytech, so they also, the Pyramid people came along with it.
That's correct.
Yeah. Why don't you talk a little bit about the truck and how it works and, how it is so popular in some of the bigger union markets?
Sure. When you're moving that volume of product, one thing you don't want to do is transfer sand over far parts because it's expensive.
Yeah.
So what this truck does, it's basically a mobile blending unit, and it'll blend the product on site, and you buy local sand. So it reduces the price of the product as well as makes it locally available. And it's typically designed for projects that are 10,000 square feet and larger, and it can be pumped up. We've pumped it up 50 stories up a building.
Wow. Yeah.
From outside in the truck.
Yeah. No, that's 50 stories is a long way for concrete to travel, as we know. And then about, I think it was probably 10, 12 years ago, you brought that truck to Boston, which was a bad thing for us, for our decks, but a good thing for Latticrete. And Allegheny purchased the truck. How, that truck is very expensive, large piece of equipment, lots of dollars. You were involved in that transaction or not, and, you were part of that whole thing when Jim Burke and Allegheny got together. And why don't you talk us through that a little bit?
Okay, sure. So Jim had a unique way of seeing, Jim Burke had a unique way of seeing kind of the forest through the trees.
Yeah.
He could see where that was a big advantage to where he could use in the Allegheny business. And he also had the financial backing of Allegheny to be able to purchase a truck like that, which is unique as well. And that's where the first truck that he purchased. And he's gung-ho, and that was his first, line of talking about with clients was the truck and what they could do with it.
Yeah.
So, Jim really saw that as a big advantage.
Well, I think at that time the skyscrapers were starting to pop up through Boston and the seaport. A lot of glass exterior construction, a lot of deflection in the floors, which was very beneficial to both of us.
Right.
More leveling needed, and for Jim to be able to put more material on the floor at a time was very advantageous for him, I guess.
Yeah.
And then he bought a second truck. Was business that good that he needed a second truck? What was that about?
I think it was twofold. I think business he saw as growing, number one, and they were tapped to, they couldn't take on more projects without a second truck.
Yeah.
But probably the bigger piece was that when you made an agreement with, let's just say a Suffolk Construction, that you're going to pour a building, and God forbid that truck went down, and you couldn't get a part for 3 weeks or 3 months, that was a big risk. So it was twofold. It was one as a safety net, and I think it was two is to expand and grow the business.
Yeah, and also too not that the commercial market is slowing down, although it is a little bit. The amount of tower cranes in the city of Boston and Cambridge aren't as prevalent as they were over the last 10 years. So are they using these trucks maybe on smaller projects now, where they had thought that process?
Yeah, I think now they've kind of changed gears a little bit and focus on projects that are smaller, that are 3,000 feet and whatnot. And they've kind of figured a way to do it profitably.
Yeah.
And because there are no more large cranes. We used to have 30 cranes in the sky, and now there's 2 if we're lucky.
The good old days. Yeah, I do remember those cranes. It's bouncing from job site to job site, and you spend a lot of times on job sites, correct?
I do.
Yeah,
That's most
I know.
of my time.
That's was my life for many years there, and I always said the only good thing about COVID was you could drive into Boston and find a place to park in a very short period of time, to be on a job site. Let's bounce around a little bit. Let's talk about your personal life, because I think it's pretty interesting. You grew up in Connecticut, and you're one of 13 children.
I am number 12 of 13 kids. Yeah.
Now, talk about number 12 and number 13 there. You're pretty close to each other, right?
It's my twin brother is number 13, and I'm number 12. Yeah.
And what's the time frame on that?
6 minutes.
6 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, and you get to be number 12. And I think you told me 8 boys and 5 girls?
Yep, 8 boys and 5 girls. Correct.
Myself, I grew up in the Boston, Jamaica Plain area, and Irish Catholic family. And there was always a couple of families in the neighborhood, like yours, that had a dozen or more kids. And for some reason, I don't know how they did it, but they seem to be in a lot more control than some of the families that had 2 or 3 kids. You know, talk a little bit about did your older siblings take care of the younger siblings? Because that's typically how it worked. And talk about your dad, and that's a very sad story. But let's hear about that.
Sure. So when I was 3, my father died suddenly of a heart attack, and my mother was raising basically from 3 to 21. There was an 18-year gap between siblings. So we had one in college, or a couple in college, I think, at the time, and then my brother and I were 3. Yeah. And
so, and your mom was raising 13 kids on her own, and how did she do that?
Well, she's a school nurse, and I think that was a way we're keeping an eye on a lot of the kids at certain times. Her faith was huge. That's how she claims to get through it. Yeah. Wow. So, and she pretty amazing. She actually put us all through college, every one of us. So
wow,
it's pretty neat story.
Yeah. No, that's she's a rock star. It sounds like that's just unbelievable. You know, and you and your twin brother, and you also have 2 sets of twins in the fam, right?
2 sets of twins, a boy and a girl, and then 2 boys. Yep.
And you also mentioned to me that you and your twin brother married sisters.
My brother and I married sisters. Yes, a bit strange, but yeah, legal. And yes, we married sisters. Yep.
That's I've heard about that. You know, you hear about it more often than you don't hear about it. You know, and. They're not twins, too, are they?
They're not twins.
Okay, that's good. That's good. And yourself, you have some children?
I do. I've got 2 kids. I've got a boy and a girl. My daughter works at Children's Hospital. She's
in Boston. Yeah,
in Boston. She's a pediatric cardiac ICU nurse.
Oh wow!
At Children's, been there for a bit. And my son is in the insurance business. He graduated a couple years ago from Villanova. And he's in the insurance business in New York City.
Wow.
Yeah. And my wife is a life coach. So she has started a business during COVID as a life coach, and that's what she guides people from where they are to where they want to be. And
that's good to hear. Maybe I can get involved with her, and she can help me with this podcast as it's starting to evolve a little bit and get some traction.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Now, also too in this time frame, at you being number 12 of 13 kids, your father passing away at an early age, and you have 2 brothers that have passed away, kind of from the same heart issue maybe your dad had.
Yeah, so it's a genetic heart condition that gets passed. It's called cardiomyopathy, and it basically gets passed from genetically passed. They've now figured out a simple drug that you take twice a day, and it basically puts everyone back on stable, like you and I would be. So that's had they had that drug, it wouldn't be an issue. But now they've figured out a way to make that happen. So it's great.
So also that is great, and we're fortunate that medicine has improved so much and continues to. And speaking of that, you're a big Pan Mash Challenge biker.
I am, yes.
That's a great story. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So I joined I like biking, and a bunch of friends and I got together and we're biking a lot when we lived in Acton and grew up. Our family was raised in Acton, and we started riding for a friend who was struggling with cancer, and we're riding for them. And now it's been this year will be the 20th year in a row that we've done it, and it's a bike ride from basically Sturbridge to Provincetown in mid-August.
And the group you're with is, you said how many?
So there's 38 of us.
Wow.
38 of us. It varies from year to year, but about that number.
38. And you're coming into your 20th year?
Coming into my 20th year, yeah.
And how much have you raised for Dana-Farber?
So I've raised actually over $700,000 with...
you personally?
Me personally, and with a lot of my, a lot of help from a lot of customers and friends and family, and yes.
You told me that cool little story of one of your customers. Why don't you tell the audience that?
Yeah. So I had a customer this goes back about 10 years ago, was no longer in the business, but he was a long-term customer, and he was I didn't say a challenging customer, little challenging, and really
some of them are.
Some of them are. I really didn't think he actually liked me that much, frankly. Yeah. And I send my letter out like I do. I send it to everybody, and I received a letter back from him, a handwritten letter back from him, with a whole story about how his wife was being treated at the Dana-Farber at the time, and how phenomenal they've done for his wife's cancer, and how appreciative that he is that I'm writing.
Yeah.
And writing for it. And it was really unique. And it just goes to show, I think, that everyone has a story. Everyone's got something in their life where cancer has affected them or affected someone in their family. And so it really makes these rides. And that's just one example. We get one every year of someone you know or don't know is fighting. And it's a rewarding, very rewarding thing to do on something I enjoy doing, which is bike riding.
Right, so. And you should be commended for that too. By the way, it's a great thing. It really is. I mean, being a competitor for all these years, I never realized some of the things you do, and that's actually kind of one of the really fun parts about doing these podcasts is you find out these stories about people, and the audience, I've been told from reactions that they're calling to me and talking to me about is they love these little side stories about these people. So it's about the audience. So that's great. Okay. That's great to hear. Right? That's again, you should be commended for doing that. Thank you. You also got another little side gig with prostate cancer. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Sure. So growing up in a big family, there's always my oldest brother. There's always something going on. You can imagine having 13 kids.
Yes, I can't imagine, but I can. Yes,
right.
Yeah.
And with their kids and whatnot. So my oldest brother is a professor at Harvard Medical School, and he developed a test for prostate cancer. And basically, in essence, if you have concern about prostate cancer, you'll go in and you'll have a PSA test or a high PSA. And when that happens, they'll send you back for a biopsy.
Yep.
And they'll take a tissue and they'll measure it on a slide. And if that slide in the past would always show a test they used had a lot of false positives and false negatives. In this case, he developed a test that's basically 99.8%. They can't say 100, but virtually perfect. A test that tests for prostate. Now it's in breast and lung and virtually every cancer that's being tested. And we helped him put it through with other siblings, put it through the FDA, and then ultimately license it to Roche Pharmaceuticals. So,
well, because I hate the word prostate cancer because that's it's the male breast cancer for females, and I guess if we live long enough, we'll have it, right?
Yeah, they say
that's the terrible part.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Let's get back to tiling for a little bit. Large format tile. It probably came out 10, 12 years ago. And for the audience, large format is just very large tile, that, pieces of sheetrock almost that is going down on floors and walls. Seemed like a great idea at the time. No grout joints or minimal grout joints. But really, has it caught on? Hasn't it caught on? It's a very tough install, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a mixed bag whether it's caught on or not. I think you might see it more in warmer climates where they're using it. We do a tremendous amount of training for it right now, both in the Union Hall as well as in other areas. And it's catching on. I think it's not catching on and probably as fast as people have thought it was going to. However, it is beautiful when it's installed and there's no grout joints, and it's a skilled labor. It's skilled equipment they need to buy. It's in many cases they're using electronic lifts now to lift the tile up if it has to go on to the second level because it is so heavy. And you add thinset to it, and it's a 50-pound bag of thinset you're adding to it. So it's adding. It's a challenging install, and it's not for the new installer. It's for someone that really has been trained and understands how it works.
Is that more of a union install or a non-union install? It doesn't matter.
I've seen both. I've seen both union. I've seen the union. You really have to invest in it. It's investing in equipment.
Yeah. And
the other part when putting it on a floor, as from being an Arctics, is that floor has to be perfect. It has to be absolutely flat as a table.
Because this material comes in incredibly thin.
Really thin, quarter inch and quarter inch to half inch. is typical.
Yeah.
We're doing a project now where it's quarter inch on the wall, and that's got to be perfect.
Wow.
It's got to be really dead nuts.
Yeah. And as far as business in today's market, again, I've been out for a couple of years. The Boston, the city of Boston, the city of Cambridge has had let's call it a really good run over the last 15 plus years. What's the upcoming future look like? We talked about there's not that many cranes in the sky anymore. Are they going to be popping up?
Well, let's hope so. Let's hope so for everyone. I do see it that we really did build a new city in the seaport. That was when you look there where it was when you and I first started. That was parking lots, and it's now a full city. So
Right.
we have built an entire city on it, and it's been fantastic. I do think if money becomes less expensive to borrow, I think developers will continue to. Boston's a thriving area, and it's only becoming more expensive. So as it builds out, I think it'll build out further. As it is in Cambridge now, we're starting to see towers in Cambridge, which we never saw before.
Right.
And Somerville. Somerville's the same way.
Right. Somerville's the new Cambridge, right?
Yeah.
And even in Watertown, they're branching out as quote suburbs of Cambridge. you know?
Yeah. No, I think so. I think Boston's a great city to do construction, and we see it in New York. We see basically the back to work also is really happening in New York and taking over in New York. So New York is booming right now. New York's doing really well.
Yeah.
Where Boston is not as much. Maybe it's the back to work flexibility. I'm not sure where that is.
Is restoration becoming a big part of that too?
Restoration and just taking New York's old. The city itself is old. There's a lot of old buildings that are being renovated. So. And a lot of people moving into New York too.
And is it from the COVID years where people weren't working back in the office? Are they are they transforming these offices into apartments, or are they just redoing them to bring all the companies back in?
Yeah, I think we see a little bit of both. See a little bit of both. Certainly, there are when buildings make sense to do that. Not all of them make sense. I think just from the plumbing and electrical perspective.
Sure.
To make them into condos, some of them do, but a lot of them are just bringing them back into work to be into work and be into work 4 days a week or potentially 5.
Yeah. And as far as the McKeon Group, why don't you explain to the audience exactly, you said you have 10 people. Mm-hmm. What do those 10 people do?
Yes, we have people in all different markets of our territory. For example, I focus primarily with the commercial contractors in Boston.
And that's both tile and
Yep. We don't really separate them. Okay. However, most of our people have been there for a long time, and we cross over quite a bit, meaning we have someone that works in the New Hampshire and Vermont and Maine market. However, if we need him in Boston, he was here last week. Yeah. He can be in Boston in a second. Yeah. And the same with our person who works, Matt Bunzel, you know.
I know Matt,
who's on the South Shore, and he's multifaceted. He can go into any environment, whether it be residential, commercial, a dealer to a distributor. He's a wide range of, so we kind of cross over quite a bit.
And you do, I would assume, quite a bit of architectural work.
We do. Yeah. We do. That's a big part. It's a big part in New York as well as in Boston. Yeah. It's the architectural piece. It's really where it starts.
Yeah. Exactly right. Mm-hmm. And you, I would assume, have, with 10 people, have, over, you said McKeon Group's been in business for 30 plus years?
Yeah, so I guess it's been 33 years. My brother Tom was, as I said, was an architectural rep for about 7 years, and then evolved into taking over the New York market when one of the original pioneers of Latticrete, his name is Harry Swanson, was retiring. Tom took over for his territory.
Okay. Yeah. And also, too, I thought was a very interesting story was your family of 13 and the owner of Latticrete's family of 7 children.
Yeah, so the Rothberg family grew up, they have 7 kids in their family, and we had 13, and we grew up in the same town. And so in essence, in high school and junior high, there was always, in most classes, there was always a Rothberg and McKeon in the same class. But it's interesting. It's not where, when Tom originally started working at Latticrete, he actually answered an ad in the New York Times for an architectural rep in New York, and ended up being the company that was based in a town away.
Yeah, and like I mentioned before, growing up in Boston, it was typically the Irish Catholic families had the big families, and your family was Irish Catholic, and their family was Jewish, which typically they don't have the very large, families unless they're acidic out of New York City. So that was a little different and very interesting that they obviously you guys coexisted very well and got along and are still there.
Yeah. And now it's the third generation that's there, and they're just a wonderful family, and their kids are very involved in the business now, and taking it to the next level. So
that's great to hear. The when families working for a family business, like we did with Ardex, is I think is a bigger advantage than working for corporate America. You get to touch and feel and talk to the people that are making decisions, and so that's, I think, very good, very very positive way to go in the business world. Yeah,
it's unique, and I think it's the whole family run versus the public companies that are reporting to shareholders. They're reporting their family, and this is a true entrepreneur that Dr. Rothberg, who started the company, and I think the family wants to keep it that way. They want to keep it an entrepreneurial type of environment.
Yeah, that's great. It's great to hear. Yeah. And you raised your family in Acton, Mass.
We did, yes.
Acton. I'm not that familiar with Acton, but I know where it is. Seems like a nice suburban Boston town. All your kids went through the schools there and are all doing well. So you were there for how long?
We were there for about 20. It's about 20. Yeah, about 20 years.
About 20 years. And now you moved into Boston.
Yeah, we live in the South End, and my wife and I are moved in there, and my kids moved on, and we moved into a smaller place. Yeah.
The commute's a little better now, huh?
The commute's phenomenal. I can take my bike to many projects. So.
Well, I lived in Easton for 25 years and commuted into the city, and when I moved to Quincy, it was like getting back 2 hours of my life a day. It's really a benefit. You don't realize it when you're doing it because you just do it.
Right.
And I heard a lot of nice positive things about Acton. Anything else you wanted to bring up on the podcast that I might have
Mike,
missed?
I can't think of anything we've missed. Thank you for doing this podcast. I think it's giving our industry great knowledge on all different both people as well as companies and exposure, and I think it's a great thing you're doing.
Well, again, I appreciate you as coming onto the podcast as a competitor, probably my biggest competitor over the years. The good news is we were able to share the business, let's call it. You won some, I won some, and life goes on. We were kind of both doing the same thing and doing it very well, and I only heard very positive things about you in the field, of doing the right thing all the time. Thank you for that, and thank you for being on the podcast. At the end of these podcasts, I do my little shtick about asking you 3 quick questions.
Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready.
And they could be 1-word, 2-word answers.
Okay.
What's your favorite ice cream?
Cookies and cream. Yep.
Cookies and cream. We just had a cookies and cream last time, I think. Yeah.
Oreo.
Okay.
Oreo. I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Cookies and cream is pretty popular. What's your favorite food to cook?
Favorite food to cook is probably Italian for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Italian.
Is your wife Italian?
She's not. No.
Okay.
Nope.
Because there's always that Irish-Italian connection a lot of times, and
Irish aren't known for cooking. That's for sure. Yeah.
No, they are not. I can, even though I never missed a meal in my life, I know they are not. And what's your favorite restaurant?
Favorite restaurant? It's got to be the Clark Cookhouse in Newport, Rhode Island.
I've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah, the Clark Cookhouse. I've had a few cocktails there over the years.
Great cocktail.
That is a great place and a great spot.
Yeah.
And spent some good time down there. I love Newport. Yeah, Newport's a great town. Well, again, I appreciate you coming on. I just want to throw it out there to my audience that the Flooring Podcast is looking for sponsors. If anybody's interested, please contact myself and Peter.
And
appreciate it. Yes.
Looking forward to being your first sponsor.
Oh, so, thank you very much, Peter. All right, appreciate it.
Mike, could you remind the listeners where they can email you for information on the show?
My email is Michael, Michael, Harris, Harris, 76 @gmail.com.
Very good. Thanks for listening, everybody. The Flooring Podcast is a bi-monthly podcast. We'll see you in 2 weeks. You can find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Thanks once again for listening to the Flooring Podcast.